For a second.
Hello everyone, welcome to the players meeting for the Cape Town Disabled Open hosted by the City of Cape Town. We're delighted this evening to be joined by Inus Marais, our Chief Rules Official, as well as Carmen Oostenbrink doing our interpreting for us this evening, and one of our SADGA directors, Mr. Pieter Verwey. Guys, thank you very, very much for taking the time this evening.
Thanks, Greg.
So I think a good starting point would be to just sort of chat about the COVID protocols that will be in place for the event. You know, and especially provide a bit of insight for those who didn't necessarily play in the first event in Durban. So I think if we look at, the one question that I'm sure a lot of people will be asking is, would they be able to remove flag sticks? And Inus, I think you can, if you wouldn't mind just touching on that.
Yes, Craig, thanks very much. I think I'll touch on what happens on course, and then Pieter maybe can touch on the other things before you start playing and when you arrive there, etc. On course, the current COVID regulations as put in place by Golf RSA and negotiated with the government to allow us to have these tournaments will be in place at KDM. In other words, we will allow you to touch the flag sticks. You're allowed to remove the flag sticks because they will be sprayed down every morning, so your flag sticks may be removed. However, the bunkers, as most players will know, at all the clubs, the bunkers are still, under the COVID rules, you may place in the bunker 1 club length from where your ball lies. And that will give you that relief because the bunkers aren't raked. And we asked players just to, try and smooth it over a little bit and leave the bunker in a decent shape when they get out, but they're allowed to place 1 club length. The other on-course COVID regulation that the guys must please just adhere to is that when you're on the tee box or you receive your scorecard, you score for, if I'm player A, I'll score for player B. So I'll write his name on top, and then I will write my name as the marker. I don't swap cards. So I write his name on top and I hold score for him, and he will hold my score on his card. So those are the COVID regulations when it comes to playing the golf. I don't know whether Pieter wants to elaborate on the other issues.
Yeah, so maybe just from a COVID point of view, when you arrive at the club, the one thing I can say is that this time around KDM, even though they might have their own protocols in place, we will have our own screening protocol in place. So similar to the previous tournament, when you arrive at the club every day, you will have your basic COVID screening that you would need to complete. And I would suggest that is the first thing you guys do when you arrive at the club. And again, we follow Golf RSA's COVID regulations that have been put out. So we need to make sure that we have a risk mitigating plan in place. And that's why we do it, guys. We've also had some questions where people ask, do I need to be tested before I play? I would say if you don't feel well, then yes, get tested, and then just confirm then that you will not be attending the tournament. That's first thing said. And then also a unique one, when we have people from outside of the borders of South Africa, you need to illustrate to us that you have been vaccinated. And that is a requirement that we follow just from a Golf RSA requirement point of view. And then just because of COVID, I'm also going to just touch on socializing at the tournament itself. Guys, when you finish your round, we need to make sure that obviously scorecards are given in. And then as far as the clubhouse is concerned, we would ask that you do not gather quite classically on the 19th hole. Please, guys, we've got to adhere to the COVID regulations. So we do not want to have a scenario where we have to walk up to players saying, hey, will you please leave the club? I know it's not great, but at least we get to play this wonderful game, even though it is in some interesting circumstances.
Inus, I think let's shift to a couple of the rules in place during the actual event. So one question which players may have relates to preferred lies. Will those be in effect, or will it be a decision that is taken on the day, given, or once the conditions have been assessed?
Yeah. Thanks, Craig. If I may elaborate and just to maybe take a step back, I want just to focus the guys and ladies playing on the hard card that they would have received that when they enter. It's also on the website. This is a new thing for guys that are playing tournament, because we have a few events around the country. We've drawn up a hard card with rules that are in play at every event that we're going to. And it just makes it easier, so you don't need to put all those rules down on every local rule. Let me just confirm 2 or 3 things on the hard card that they might encounter, which is important. And that is that hard card rule 6, if they have the sprayers next to a green, and the sprayer is within 2 club lengths of the green, and the ball is within 2 club lengths of the sprayer, they will be able to take relief on that line of play if the ball is also on a area cut to fairway height or less. So that's one of the rules that are in play, which helps them. There's a pace of play policy. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. And then distance measuring devices, the guys may use it. Please just not slope or any other indicators, but the normal distance devices may be used. And then because of pace of play as well, we don't allow, and that will be on the local rules, we don't allow for practice to take place on the putting green of the hole they're just finishing. Normally one would be able to do that, but we don't want that. We want you to move off quickly so that the guys behind you can play into the green, and for pace of play purposes, it can carry on. Now, on the day when you start playing, you will receive what we will then call, so your hard card is in play, and then you'll receive your additional local rules. Now, Craig, getting to your question about preferred lies, obviously, preferred lies would be something that you usually decide the day before or even on the morning of a tournament, depending on the conditions. And you will have preferred lies if either the course condition and holes or things on the fairway is not conducive to being fair to players, or it's very wet and we find mud or something which will also not be fair to players. So preferred lies we will decide. I can assure you, if we think that it is not appropriate to play without preferred lies, we will have preferred lies there. I'm actually seeing Cameron Johnson, the golf director, next Tuesday in preparation for the tournament next weekend, to look at the course, to look at the tees, pin placements. We'll discuss everything, and we'll go through the course, and obviously in view also to look at areas that we should be marking, so that players, when they land there, will get free relief or ground under repair or what the case might be, to have everyone to have a fair chance, but also have an enjoyable golf experience.
So we've got a question in the comments section from Keen Dry relating to a measuring device, and he says, does a smartwatch count as other under distance measuring devices?
Yes, absolutely. Anything that gives you the distance, whether it's on the smartwatch or the one that the guys wear on their cap, or the one that you look through, those are all. That's why it's called just distance measuring devices. It's it's a name to incorporate any of those instruments that you can use.
Fantastic. And obviously, I'm sure I think when all's said and done, we'll have a field well in excess of 50 players. And I'm sure with that comes strict policing of the pace of play. Do you want to maybe touch on, Inus, do you maybe want to touch on the regulations that will be in place around slow play?
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I think we're going to be very stricter on slow play this time around, also to ensure that everybody has a fair chance to play his shot within the same time limit as everybody else on the course. We have a pace of play a schedule, a sheet, which will tell players by the end of this hole they should have played 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And we'll, as referees, will help players to achieve that. We'll also, and I spoke to Tournament Director Lily Reich, we'll also look at the timesheets to put the players out and put them in slots to enhance everybody's skill and ability, to ensure that there's a flow of the field and that people are not waiting. And I know you get frustrated when you have to wait and the field are slow. So yes, there are a few things that we can do, but we will unfortunately allow everyone the same time, and everyone will have equity when it comes to that. But if you are not adhering to that and you are not sticking to the times allocated, we will step in as rules officials, and we'll have to then start either timing you or penalizing you. Even that, we hope we don't get to that, however.
So another question from Keen also relates to slow play. How do the players go about reporting slow play on the course?
Well, yeah, there are going to be referees. We'll be in radio contact with one another. And there will other scorers around. So, or you're going to wave at us, or call a referee over, or call Lily and say, "Listen, we've got a problem here with a group that's very slow." Our aim as referees is we look for gaps in the field. As soon as a gap develops, there's a group that's fallen behind, and you have to get onto that group very quickly and find out what's wrong. Where have you gone behind? Yes, we understand you looked for a lost ball for 3 minutes and then gone back to the tee or whatever, but you have to catch up. You've got 3 holes to catch up, and we're there to help you to do that. So yes, that's one of the things, Craig, is that to get onto a group that's behind very quickly, because otherwise everybody staggers up behind them and nobody enjoys it anymore.
Sure. Pieter, would you mind sort of letting the players know what the penalty is for entering the event but not arriving and registering without a good reason for doing so?
Yeah, so the penalty for that is R1,000. There goes a hell of a lot into these tournaments, and we know life happens. The only thing we ask is that you guys within reason give us early enough heads up. Just let us know if something happens, but if you register and don't rock up, it's R1,000 fine.
And would you be able to tell us when registration is taking place for the event? Yes,
registration will take place on the Sunday from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. and it will be
fantastic. Fantastic. And then, Inus, this also relates to slow play. What if one player is slow in the group that you play in? So there's one culprit and the other 2 or 3, whatever the case may be.
That is why timing and why referees use timing of individual players to ensure that you look at the culprit and you don't penalize anybody else. We've gone past the days where you penalize a group. You time players. The first player to play gets 50 seconds. If he's ready to play his shot, whether it's starting on the tee box or first putting or hitting on the fairway, the second guy gets 40 seconds and the third guy gets 30 seconds. So that's what, and if you're within those limits, even though you're in a group that's slow or behind, you'll be fine. We'll look at, you go for the culprit that is the slow guy in a group or whatever. Let me also ask players, please, to helping us in eradicating slow play is being ready to play. Play ready golf. If someone's dropping there on the left-hand side at some kind of a penalty area and you are ready to play your shot, although you might be nearer to the green, play your shot and go to the green. If you're number 3 on the tee box to tee off and it's your turn to tee off and you haven't got your glove on or your club in your hand yet, then you're not helping. You be ready, be always ready to play, and my friend always says that in a 4-ball there must always be one guy playing golf. If we're looking for this guy's ball, let one guy play and then come and help and let another guy play. They must always be busy with golf on a fairway.
100%. Pieter, would you mind just explaining how players go about organizing caddies for the event?
Yeah, so all caddies must be booked and paid for by the players. So it's for their own accounts directly with KDM. So it's important that if you want to have a caddy, please book and pay with King David Mowbray ahead of time directly.
And on a similar note, would you mind just sort of touching on whether golfers will be required to cover the cost of halfway, and I suppose what costs they can expect SADGA to cover?
Okay, there will be a sandwich or a roll with water, which will be part of a grab and go that SADGA will cover. And then obviously green fees, card sharing, and the halfway that I've referred to for both days will be covered by SADGA. I think it's important with the card sharing, emphasis on card sharing. So for the particular four ball or the playing group, that's what we cover.
Sure. And I suppose I think you guys can probably both answer this question, but are players allowed to bring their own caddies to the event?
So Inus, my understanding is from the previous tournament, yes, but it must be done beforehand. What we do not want to see is someone booking a caddy at King David Mowbray, and all of a sudden their brother or their wife, 10 minutes before tee off, is now their caddy for the event.
Yeah, if I look at the terms of the competition of the tournament on golf carts and caddies, it specifically says that they must if they want to bring their own caddy, they must register it with Lily before the tournament starts. So everybody knows that.
Great. And then, Pieter, I think you may have sort of indirectly answered it, but are spectators allowed?
Under no circumstances are any spectators allowed. I think it's twofold. First and foremost, part of our COVID regulations, and secondly, just speed of play. We've had some concerns previously, but guys, I'm still surprised. Previous tournament, we had to ask someone not to go on the course. So I just urge you, help us with this. No spectators under no circumstances. And
yeah, I mean, you've got a couple minutes in which you can post a couple more questions in the comments. But just a note here is that entries for the event close this Friday, the 17th of September. I don't know if that is actually necessarily Friday the 17th at 5 p.m. So, I mean, if you haven't entered yet and you are considering it, please get those entries in or sort of timeously. And then also with regard to the shirts that you guys wear, for those who played in KZN, if you wouldn't mind just bringing those shirts that you received and wearing those on Monday for the second and final round. And for those who didn't play in KZN, you will receive your shirt at registration. So just bear that in mind. Let me just see. I've got a couple more questions. Let's see what this one is here. So if you are not a member at KDM, but at another course, you may bring your own caddy, but they must be pre-registered. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a yes. Inus, you've answered that already.
Yeah. Cool. And then a couple more from Keen. If we are on the green but on the fringe, do we get placed back onto the fairway or fringe?
Keen, I don't really understand your question, but let me. I'm assuming you're saying you're on the green but on the fringe. Now, if you touch the green, you're on the green. Then the putting green rules apply. So you mark your ball and you're not allowed to move that ball anywhere then, because you're on the putting green and you have to replace it on exactly the same spot. If you've got preferred lies in place, obviously your one club length preferred lies, and you are on the fringe, but you're not touching the putting green, then you're still on the fairway or the general area. Then you can place your club length if preferred lies are in place. But once you're on the putting green rule says, put your marker down, and that's where you put your ball down again.
Sure. And then this is a second question from Keen again. If there's water on the course but not marked as a hazard, do players get a free drop?
Okay, Keen, let me just rectify that for you. There's no hazards anymore, hey? That's a penalty area. But yes, obviously, any water on a course that are lying there, and when you stand in it, before you stand on it, or after you take your stance and the water comes up, that is called temporary water. And you get a free relief. That's part of your abnormal course conditions. You get to you look for your nearest point of complete relief. And from there, you've got a club length in which you can drop your ball. Now, while he asked that question, Craig, if I may butt in, because it relates to something particularly and peculiar at KDM. KDM has a lot of open water courses and sluits and little ditches. Some of them are very properly marked with red stakes as penalty areas. But there are a number of them that are not marked. And you will see on the local rules that I've already drafted in red that those ditches are part of the general area. They're not penalty areas, which means that when you land in there, you play it as if you're in the general area, fairway or rough. And it also helps you in the sense that if you land in there and there's a bit of water in there, that would be the temporary water, as Mr. Dry just referred to it, and you'll get a free drop from there. So beware at KDM, the unmarked ditches, which is not a penalty area then.
And then a question from Kursi Janssen van Rensburg relating to where they register their caddies. Am I correct in saying it's just a case of notifying Lily that they will be bringing a caddy ahead of time?
That's correct, yeah.
Cool. That appears to be all the questions, but I mean, do you guys have any final comments before we sign off, or just anything you?
I think Craig, just about the local rules as well, and maybe the course. We're going to put out, and Cameron and I, the men medals section will play off the yellow tees. The men's Stableford will play off white tees, because there are no blue tees at King David. They'll be white, and the ladies will play off the red. Ladies Stableford will play off the red. There's one other thing that's strange at KDM. On the back left of the 6th green, that's where you have that tunnel going underneath the railway, and there are roads going down, and there's a garden and whatever. What we do there is we see that whole area as one abnormal course condition, one immovable obstruction, and we'll have a drop zone there. So if your ball flies and goes left there, either in the garden or any of those roads, you're welcome to use the drop zone, which we'll create there for your free relief that you can take there. All gardens will still be part of the course, so there won't be a free relief from gardens or flower beds. There are some trees with white stakes, as the guys know at their local courses. They must take relief. There are no play zones. You get free relief, but you must take relief from a tree to protect the tree, obviously. And then there would be a drop zone on.
We've lost Inus.
Yeah.
Craig, yeah. Then if someone asks if you need a referee, we are there to call. Remember, guys, we're there to help you. We want you to enjoy the day. We want you to play good golf. Unfortunately, golf and life happens. As I recall, Winston Churchill in his autobiography said, there's only one problem with golf. The ball goes exactly where you hit it. And that's why we are there as rules officials, to come and help you, to play on, to get to the green, to get in the hole, to go to the next tee. But if you don't find us or anything goes wrong, and also the local rules, you'll see you're allowed to play 2 balls then, where you then up front say, guys, I don't know whether I can get a drop here or not. I think I can. I'm going to take a drop, and I'm going to play this ball, and I want this ball to count. But I'm also going to play my original ball, and I'll play these 2 balls, and then you come to the rules official and say, this is what happened, and we'll help you to establish what score you need, you put down for that specific hole. And everybody can have a good day.
Fantastic. And Pieter, from your side, any closing comment?
No, maybe just one of the questions we had in the previous tournament is what do you do if your course handicap changes sufficiently so that you potentially move from stable fit to medal and vice versa. And this can happen, guys, within the opens. So what you would do is that you would play, obviously, that open in the division that you qualify for. And then when you come to the Champion of Champions, you would have to choose in which division you play. But that's a question we had from the previous tournament.
Awesome. But thank you guys very much for your time. And yeah, to all the players watching, I really hope that it was informative. And don't forget registration. Not registration. Entries for the event close at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So please get those entries in if you haven't done so already. And yeah, let's have a great event and look forward to the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody. Night,
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Cheers.